Good morning, everybody. Today we are doing the monitor, or the other name for it is workshop control board. If you have a look at your monitor and you use that by getting to the satellite dish, there is no add button for adding vehicles actually onto this. So how do you add vehicles onto your monitor? There is 3 ways of doing this. You can go into your admin tow-in control and you can add on a tow that has come in through the night or whatever it is that gets towed in. You can go to your check-in, and as you make a job card, Dr. Smash automatically checks to see if that car is on the monitor or not. And if it isn't, it puts it onto the monitor. We are going to go into our check-in. This is a list of all of the cars that are on your monitor at this point in time. I generally like to say the person who receives the keys from the client or from the tow guy or from the security guard from what cars were left during the night is the one that needs to check in the vehicle. So if somebody has given you their keys, that means your company is now responsible for that car, and keeping track of all these cars is where the workshop monitor comes into play. Right, we go into our check-in, we go to add a new record. If quote has already been done, we go to our lookup and we find the quote that we want, and we can now say select. So I'm going to select my Isaacs and say select. And I say save check-in details, and it has now put Isaacs actually onto the monitor for us. You can also, at this point, whoever's job it is to add the check-in, is to now call the security person and tell them that they need to go and do a security checklist on this job. Once they have done the physical checklist, we can come back and we can actually add it on and do a checklist actually on here. Once you have finished and your checklist is done, you can then say close the security checklist, and it now turns your checked into yes, a security checklist has actually been done. If a quote has not been done on this job, when you go in, quote number, you can't go to lookup because there's nothing there. We just go to save check-in details. We type in a registration number. All right, I'm just going to choose this one. But you would put in your registration number and we would now enter it in, and it will start a quote for you, which you can now leave blank for your quoters to actually go through and make the actual quote itself. All right, so we're now going to close this down. You will see that the monitor screen has changed slightly. We have moved some of the buttons that were down the side here, and we have put them up at the top here. So refreshing your monitor is now up in the top right. And you will now see there's my Kendall. It has come up in light blue because it is saying it is waiting to be quoted on. And then there is my Isaacs. I have done a quote for them already. It is waiting to actually be assessed. Let's go into Isaac and view our selected quote that we have done. All right, I'm going to go into my original. It's going to call up the actual quote for us. There is our quote that we've actually got. And I'm now going to show you. You've got all your panels, your panel beating and your strip and assemble. Right, our panel beating, 9.8 hours, paintwork, strip and assemble, and mechanical is 5 hours. If I go through, in my defaults, under your quote defaults, you have percentage splits. So in that 1 hour that you quoted for panel beating, how much of it is panel beating and how much is it for filing? How much of that 1 hour that you did for strip and assemble is for stripping, and how much is for assembly? And then we've also got our painting. Of the panels that we show, 70% of it goes into painting, 30% will go into your finishing. And then of the 70% that you have here, how much of that is for preparation and how much of it is for painting? We then have our scheduled time factors. For you to do that 1 hour's worth of work, how long does it actually take you to do that 1 hour's worth of work? In my particular default, I have got that my paint is 6 hours. It takes me 6 hours to do that one panel actually on the system. Our strippers take 3 hours to do that work, and your panel beaters take 4 hours to do that one bit of work on it. If I now go in, I can now have a look. Panel beating, 60% is 5.8. Multiplied by my times 4 factor gives you 23 hours and 52. If I go into my finishing is 30%, which is 2.55 hours. Times my 6 schedule factor gives me 15.3 hours. So once it works out all of these different factors for you, it adds it all up and you end up coming out with about 17 days actually on this quote. Now, see that if we had to make this into a job card, it will now give us a schedule, and that is how it is working out the actual schedule for you. When it comes up, Dr. Smash, there is a tick box that you can either make your own manual schedule, or Dr. Smash can use the schedule that I have just shown you, but that is where your Dr. Smash is now getting its information. I'm now going to go into the defaults properly. I go to my monitor workshop defaults. These are the names that you're wanting to put into your different departments. Your monitor label, you can either use that as start or you can put it in with strip. Your FRC, if that is your costing sheet, I believe a lot of you probably have the word spreadsheet on there, but if you wanted to, you can change it to FRC or you can change it to invoiced or whatever you want. But you can change the wording to what you actually require it to be. Additional defaults. If you don't want to use the filing department because you don't have a filing department, you can go in and it will come up with the word paint prep instead of file department. Then I just want to now know, do you want to put your storage whenever you print out your overview report? Do you want the storage to come in with it as well? Outsourced, do you want to keep track of any notes that you might make? And then this is the big one that we're doing today, which is send status update to insurance on monitor move. I tick that, and now whenever I move my departments, it is going to send a notification to the insurance company. And I have also asked for it to please send an SMS when I'm changing my department. We do also have Carbeat actually in Dr. Smash, so if you want your Carbeat set up, we can do so for you as well. Daily departments. This is a new thing that we have put into Dr. Smash. If you work an 8-hour day, or you anticipate your labor working an 8-hour day, It now wants to know, in your stripping department, how many strippers do you have, and multiplied by your daily hours. So I'm going to say that we have 2 strippers in our stripping department. So therefore I'm doing 16 hours. My panel beater, I actually only have 1 panel beater. I have 1 filer. My painter, I only have 1. I have 2 assemblies, and I have 1 finishing. So you can now put in onto the daily department how much labor you should be able to get through in a day in that particular department. So now let's go back to our monitor. I'm going to say refresh. Right, as we saw, you've got your different colors: light blue waiting to be quoted on, dark blue waiting to be made into a job card, and then you have now got your jobs that you are working on. There is my Isaacs. It has automatically put it into the start. And then if you carry on going further down, you will see you have your different departments. We have this department here now, which is awaiting authorization. It is this nice pink cerise color, awaiting authorization. And then we also have this like grey color one, which is awaiting parts. So it's no longer actually in your in the flow of your panel shop. It is now sitting waiting for either to be authorized or awaiting parts, and it's just sitting there waiting. We have also got our jobs that have been returned for completion because they weren't done properly the first time. There's our green ones that are completed ones, and then this one here is an outstanding. Outstanding is we gave the vehicle back to the client because it is now drivable. But there was something small missing from the job, i.e. the stripes are missing, or the passenger mirror is not there. It's just something small that we can just quickly finish off. When the part actually does arrive, we ask the customer to bring the car in, and within a couple of hours they can now take their car back. And we're just keeping track that although the car is not on our premises, we still owe the customer something. Right, and then of course we have our booked in. Our booked in are the ones that we are doing our, we know about it, we have been given the authorization to go ahead with the job, but before we get the client to actually bring the car in, we are now buying the parts for them, and we are literally waiting for our faces to turn green so that we can now phone the client and say, please bring your car in because all your parts are now here. The hammer, if we go back up to the top here, is telling you what department it is actually in. And as we saw earlier, our workshop is as you made a schedule, it automatically has now got that schedule in the system. So if I go into schedule my selected job, I would actually be able to see that schedule that we have just made. Cancel. Right, and that is why I have now got a green face, because at this point I am still supposed to be in the stripping department. If I'm supposed to leave stripping at 9 o'clock, at 1 minute past 9, the face will turn yellow. Now, that is an hour. You have in your own defaults whether you want it to be an hour long or whether you want it to be longer than an hour. You get to choose in your default as to how long your yellow faces come up for. At 1 minute past 10, because mine is set at an hour, it will now turn my face red. So your workshop foreman's job is literally, his job is to keep this workshop column as green as possible. So what would he do is every morning, twice a day, whatever you decide to actually do, we go to the workshop print reports. We print out today's vehicle position report, and you can print it out. That is just a list of all the cars that are on the monitor. The computer will, you would then give that to somebody who will then walk around and say which department those cars are actually in. They will come back and you can now put it onto the actual system itself. So I close that and we can now go through. I want to, my double click, I'm going to go and I say, I want to, if I double click, I want to be able to move a department. I can now highlight that car, I double click on it, and I can now move it to whatever department I actually want. Yeah, just by clicking on it, you will see that as I do that, it asks me if I want to SMS. I can send the SMSs straight away if you need. Yes, it comes up onto the screen first. It writes up the details. In this case, it does not have a completion date because my data is, you would then, if you needed to, you can now go in and actually write up your completion date and you can carry on from there and say send the SMS. So basically what will happen is by doing this is that within an hour of you going around, all your customers actually know what is actually going on, and it would have now gone through. It would also have gone through to King Price. Right. When I say it's gone through to King Price, so from your Dr. Smash, it goes to a program called EMS, where the only information it is actually sending is a claim number. It is sending the department that you have now moved it to, and then there is a note that says whether your spares have been bought, not bought, half bought, delivered. It's just a line that says what's happened with your parts. Right. Then EMS will then send, looking at that claim number, will then send any claim numbers to King Price that they have said that they are waiting for. At the moment, King Price is the only one that is actually linked to this, but they are in talks with other companies, not necessarily these ones. I just found logos on the internet. And what will eventually happen is as you move anything in your Dr. Smash, it will then go and talk to each of the insurance companies, sending updated data to each one of the insurance companies for you. Right, so from Dr. Smash, it goes to a database for EMS, and then King Price talk to EMS and get that information from them. Yeah, so as you move any of your departments, as I said, I've said double click. I can now go to the next one down. I double click on it and I just move that one as well. I'm not going to send SMSs, and it now goes through the different places. If you are wanting to put a car into awaiting authorization, you just highlight it and drag it and drop it onto awaiting authorization. And it now has put it into the pink ones for you. Exactly the same with your spares. If you're awaiting parts, it's now no longer being worked on. The job is not moving in your department because we have to get these parts in first before the paint shop can continue doing what it has to do. So we can then just go and click in awaiting parts, and it now puts it into the awaiting parts for you. So that is your workshop column that you actually have. Your admin column is your paperwork. So we can go through, we can have a look at any of our ones. This one's got a nice yellow face, which means that some of the paperwork has not actually been done. So I can view my admin details, and in this case, my security checklist has not been done. I have also not put in who advised my cost price. I can also go into one with a red face, and let's go to view the admin details. This one has got problems with my extras. I can go in and view the extra that is actually causing a problem. No internal or external authorization has been done on this particular job yet. So I can see quite quickly what is actually going on. So yes, we do try and help you so that you can work from the screen if you need to. We also have under our admin, on this side now, we have different colors coming up in our job numbers. Our job numbers, if it is red, it means an extra has been requested. Yellow means that the progress report has been sent to the insurance company, or we have told the insurance company about this extra. And then green, a green one would be that they have actually approved or they have answered us about that extra. So you can see quite quickly which jobs have extras actually on them, and we can then work from there if you need to. Right, under your spares column, spares is actually quite simple. Red means that the parts have not yet been ordered. Yellow means they've been ordered but not yet received. Green means all the parts are actually here on your shop floor. Then we have this one here, which is a tick box. The tick box is saying that all the parts have been bought for this job, and we are, but there are some orders that need to be placed, and those are for your diagnostics, your wheel alignment, and things like that. There is outside contracts that need to be done on this job, and we are still waiting for those to be ordered. Right, so it just allows your workshop foreman to actually see as well what jobs are supposed to be going out, leaving your shop and going to an outside contract. We also have our flour. Our flour is our back orders. When you are placing your order and you discover that it is actually on back order, we will set that as a back order, and it comes up onto our spares telling us that we have back orders actually on this job, and it lets you know straight away so you can see it. Right, M means it's in the mechanical department, and then these arrows here are your outside contractors. These cars have left your premises. That's why there's arrows, because they have left your premises. They have gone somewhere else. They have gone for their wheel alignment, their regassing, their diagnostics, or whatever it might be. And what you can do is you highlight and you can go to set the outwork details. Right, I want to do normal. And you can now put in when did they leave your shop, when is it due back into the shop, and where has it actually gone. So you can now put in your times, and you can now do that. That is why your faces and things are actually coming up. because it's now behind time and things like that. When the car is being returned, we just say set it to returned, and where is it going straight back into? It's going back into my paint shop, and it's now put that particular car into the paint shop section for you. Under our defaults, we had one called outsourced notes. If you want, you can go in and set your artwork details, and we can do tracking. Tracking is a place for us to be able to just write up a note of what is going on with this job, what is, what's happening with this, why is it gone to this job, what's going on, or anything like that. It's a place for you to be able to make notes as to what is actually happening on this particular job. I've gone through the very basics of these. There's a button up the top here, special listing selection. At the moment, I have 97 cars actually on this, on my monitor. If I need to, I can phone any one of my clients. There's the telephone number. I can go to customer details, and it will call up all the details about it if you need to. So you've got that. But your special listing selection is you can now break up this monitor into how you want to break it up. I only want to see for a particular insurance company. I only want to see for a particular assessor, or I'm only responsible for the quotes that I have done. So I only want to see my quotes. So you go in and you say show for a quota, you find the quota's name, and we now say set. Okay, and that particular person I've chosen doesn't have any data actually on here, but it will now give you only that information. If you need to go back and put it back to normal, just say order by department, and the Dr. Smash will now put all 97 back on again. So that is what the special listing selection allows you to do, is you can break it up into different sections that you want. I'm now going to go to the workshop print reports. Obviously, a workshop overview report that we have, that is the main one that we like to use. The workshop foreman actually uses it, and it will give him all the information that they require. What department is the car in? When is it due out on them? Is it overdue? Has it got a red face at this point in time? And if I go right, you'll see that it comes up and it tells you if it's in the mechanical department, if it's out at an OSC, and you can have other quotes put in as well, other notes actually put in. But now you can see your awaiting authorizations and your awaiting spares is now here. There is no schedule because it doesn't know when things are actually going to be coming through. But you've now got your vehicle overview report. We have got lots of other different reports as well on here. Vehicles in a delivery order report. You can see it's not going to make much sense because my data is not, but okay, it's got no schedules. But if they had a schedule, it would tell you all the ones that are, what order are these cars going on and what day are they actually going to be going on, so that you can see for the week your car delivery system is going to be looking like for this week. Right, we've got lots of different reports. You can have all your different, your stripping. What is actually going to be coming into stripping for that particular day. So you can give to each one of your department heads so that they can see what's going to be coming through on this particular day. Extras, we can do, you find out information about your extras. Yeah, so there's lots of different things that we can do on the system. What outside contracts are we still waiting to actually do? This one here, those are the ones that are out at the moment, and when are they actually due back? And then this other one is outstanding. I can say it include the ones that haven't been done, and now it will give me a report on all the outside contract work that actually needs to be done on these particular jobs, and so we can see exactly what is going on. So we can give you lots of different reports, but the new report that we have brought in is this one up the top here, daily departments. If all your schedules that you have done are actually correct under your workshop, if you go into daily departments, it automatically comes up and shows you that in this, from today and for the next week that is coming, how much work have you actually got in each department. My expected hours in a week, I have 2 strippers. So in a week, I should be doing my 40 hours, well, each person. So therefore, I have got 80 hours of work I can be doing, but I've only got work of 14 hours and 52 minutes for them. I can then go to my panel beating, exactly the same. I've only got 40. Okay, he's on the edge, because he's got 36 hours worth of work coming through on this work. So, you know what, I might actually need another panel beater. File shop, exactly the same. My expected hours are 40. These are the panels that he is working on, and then the actual hours that he is. Maybe I should start asking my filer to become a panel beater. You can now start looking and making decisions as to what you're wanting to do. Your painter, he tells you how many panels he's actually going to be working on. Here's a problem. He's only got 40 hours and there's 55 hours of worth of work to be done this one. I need to get in a second painter just for a day to be able to help him out. So you can now make decisions because you can see what actual hours are planned for this week and what your expected hours actually is. And so that is our daily departments, where it looks at a week in advance and now tells you what jobs are going to be coming through on each one of those departments. If you want to send an SMS from your monitor, you can go to the customer care, and it will now come up and allow you to either go in and make your own message. We received your proof of payment, thank you very much, and you can now say send it, and it will send that actual SMS off and keep track of it for you. We can reschedule jobs if you need to. You will see now that you have only got one button that comes up here. Before, it used to say, do you want to look at the quote or do you want to look at the job? If you are highlighting a job, it takes you straight into the job. If you are highlighting a quote, it now will take you straight into the actual quote itself. So it takes you into whatever it is that you are working on. How do you make notes? On the overview report, I wanted to go in and put in a note. I go into my job, and this user notes too. If I write up my note here, that will now come up onto my overview report, so that the workshop foreman now has a note as to what's going on when you now do that overview report for him. The spreadsheet column, your FRC, if you are told it not to actually bring up my FRC one, But if it was, it would be red, would mean that the FRC has not been started. Yellow means it has been started but not completed. And then obviously green now means it's been finished, which generally means that the invoice has been made. When you go into my job, I have all of these dates that come up here. Right, your job date, that is the date that you physically clicked on the button Quick Job and made it into a job card. Your start date, that will be the date that you moved this car into the stripping or your start column, whatever your naming you've got for the very first column. The minute you move it into that department, it now puts in the actual start date. Your completed date is the minute you move your current job into completed. So it comes up in green. It now means that the workshop has actually finished with that job and that is now completed. Your delivered date is the date that you click on delete monitor record. Now you will delete the monitor as you are handing the keys back to the customer. You are no longer responsible for this car, so you now delete it from the monitor. It is not closing jobs. It is not doing anything with the job. So the job is still under your current jobs. So you can finish going off and doing the invoices and everything else that you might need to do. It is just no longer on your monitor because you are no longer responsible for this particular car. So that is your delivered date. And that is the date that Lightstone use for, once it has a delivered date, the following morning Lightstone get the information that that job has now been delivered, and then they phone the client the day after that. Right. Your closed date is the date that you physically click on this button, close the job, because it is now being invoiced out. And you're now finished with it and everything is now completed on this job. So that is your closed date itself. So different people in the different auditing that they come through and they do for you, they always ask, some of them want closed dates, some of them want delivered dates. So that is why we actually always ask you on the auditing is which one of these dates is it that you are looking for? And also we can now also track for you from your start date to your completed date as to how long did the job actually take. And then even from completed to delivered, how long does it take to deliver a car? And then the big one is how long since the car left to you actually closing the job and making your invoice and that type of thing does it take for you to, the car's left your shop and you have now getting your the job actually finished off. So those are where those dates actually come from. So as you are moving your different departments, the computer is actually updating that for you. Yeah, so if I'm going to move this, if I'm moving one job, if moving at a department, I just drag that one job into current job. It brings up my list. I'm not going to do it. You see, there's my EMS. It went, that information now went through to EMS. Yes, it came up with an error because I obviously don't want to send information to EMS. The Go to Customer Care is a module. It's a different module. So if you have purchased Go to Customer Care, then you will have that one come up. Oh, by the way, there is another way of, Dr. Smash always has two ways of doing everything. Right. Another way of getting to your daily departments. And that is if you go to monitor, workshop monitor, daily department. And that brings up the exact same screen as what we were doing just now. So you can get to it from that way as well. By the way, has everybody ever gone into seeing what monitors we actually have? You can do booked in parts monitor. You know, we're buying all these spares for these booked in cars. And you only have 7 days in which to send your RFC or to return a part to a supplier. So this booked-in monitor would tell you all the jobs that you have done and what is actually coming up to the 7-day mark, so that you can phone the client and say, are you going to be bringing it in, or do we send all your parts back? That's what your booked-in parts monitor does. Parts received monitor, that is, I want to see a list of all of the parts that are have a price difference of 15%. I've put in 15% down at the bottom here. You choose your time period and you would say make the listing, and it will now go through and look for that and see if there's any price differences of more than 15% on any of your parts, because you want to know that quite quickly, because you need to know for the insurance purposes, and that you need to let them know that it came in a lot more expensive than what you were anticipating. The small, like 10, 15 Rand or whatever it might be, those are fine because the insurance won't have anything, won't have too much bother about those. But the big ones, the reason we put this in is you order I'm going to say a BMW bonnet, and you get told it's 2,000 Rand, and it comes in at 22,000 Rand because that particular VIN number needed this particular bonnet, not the one that Autodex originally said, and you now need to tell the insurance company that it's a lot more expensive than you anticipated. So those are the sort of other monitors that we have in Dr. Smash. So that's under your monitor, workshop monitor. That's the normal, the one that you see here. Workshop display monitor, that is for your workshop staff itself. It actually takes that same monitor that we have and now puts it into their department colors so that they can see if any of these jobs are now becoming, like our red ones, they are overdue. They should have actually have been out on this date. So we can actually see what is going on, and it constantly updates your workshop. So your workshop can physically see it. So if you have a monitor in the workshop, they can see this. The updating is all done on our normal monitor, this one here, but it updates it and puts it onto the information onto the workshop display monitor that you have. Right, told you about booked in parts, and I've told you, yeah, and so those are all the different ones that we can actually have as well. These booking systems and administration monitors are additional modules, so I'm not going to go into them today. Right, so if there's no other questions, I'm going to say goodbye at exactly 11 o'clock. Thank you very much, everybody. It was great seeing you all.